Good morning, driller audience, and welcome to the first episode of 2025. This is episode 139, and after a few weeks off for Christmas and New Year's, we're excited to be back informing the drilling and construction industry on the news, policies, and stories impacting the drilling industry and the construction industry. I'm your host, Brock Yorty, and this week in the news, we're going to talk about the long-term relationship between groundwater and surface water. Next, we're going to jump from that relationship into the final results of the President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology, where they released their research on groundwater security. For this week's feature, Dave Bowers, Robert Meyer, and I are going to discuss fatherhood and its comparison to managing drill crews with the Driller's editor, Johnny O'Donnell, who is a new father. Happy New Year, everybody. We've just started the second quarter of the 21st century. That is insane to think about. Before we jump into all this great content this week, let's talk some safety. Let's start the year off right with some good news from safety and Doug Parker at OSHA. And the headline is fewer workers are dying from hazards, where OSHA has focused its enforcement resources. This preliminary agency data shows a decrease in fatalities in agency mandated investigations, including significant reductions in fatal injuries from trench collapses and falls, which are the two leading causes of death among construction workers. Here's the quote. These numbers are promising evidence that stronger enforcement and collaboration with labor and management driven by the Biden-Harris administration worker-centered approach is saving lives. This came from Assistant Secretary for OSHA, Doug Parker, who we need to cheers one more time because his team from OSHA compliance officers to consultants have really made an impact on our health and well-being. This is an executive branch, just the same as the EPA, that is protecting us, protecting our environment. And this is very important. He continues with, most striking is the improvement in areas we have focused on with employers and unions. Our state program partners have also seen improvements. In the fiscal year 2024, federal OSHA investigated 826 worker deaths, an 11% reduction from 2023 numbers of 928. Mind you, there's a caveat in there that says this is excluding COVID-related deaths because we still have those pieces that have really changed our data. We're just a new universe when it comes to extreme weather and these funky viruses. OSHA's National Emphasis Program on falls, the leading cause of serious work-related injuries and fatalities in construction, saw fatal fall investigated by federal OSHA drop from 234 to 189, a decrease of almost 20%. This is amazing data. And again, falls, struck by, caught in between, electrocution, trench collapse, confined spaces. These are things that our industry sees on a daily basis, and we need to have good safety programs in place, good standard operating procedures in place, and understanding that we can save lives. This isn't an overreaching agency. This is an agency that is writing regulations in blood and trying to protect as many individuals as possible. Currently, federal OSHA covers about 60% of the private sector. And the other portion, that other 40%, is state programs. The national reporting by federal and state OSHA programs show worker deaths in trench collapse declined nearly 70% since calendar year 2022. Fatalities decreased from that awful year of 2022 where we saw 20 fatalities before the first 6 months of the year. The national emphasis program came into place, and we still saw another 18 individuals die in trench collapse. 2023, it went from 39 to 15. In 2024, we ended the year at 12. 12 is still too many. Trench safety, confined space safety, the same with falls and electrocution, are things that our industry needs to continue to improve on, continue to respect. And I know we drill and then we dig these 4 foot trenches, and you go, well, it's not mandated that I need to follow these programs. You need to think about as we get on our knees to drill that pitless into place, the danger we're putting ourselves into. Final quote from Doug Parker. While fewer workers have died from the hazards OSHA investigates, we still lose more than 5,000 workers each year in largely preventable incidents. While we're proud of the progress, our work is far from over. Reducing workers' deaths means embracing an approach that makes workers' health and safety a core value in every workplace. Only then can we fully address all the causes and factors that lead to workers dying needlessly on the job. Thank you, Doug Parker. You've led a great team, and we appreciate everything. Now we have this national heat emphasis that the Biden administration, safety is bipartisan. I don't care where you fall into, left or right, red or blue. The only red we need to be worrying about is when somebody gets hurt. Let's go out, be safe. Let's have a good 2025. Follow your safety programs. Make sure you're uh, establishing that near miss program, that you're improving your business, keeping everybody safe, and being the professionals I know you can be. Be safe. This week in the news, let's talk some groundwater and how it is connected to surface water. That's right. We've talked in the past 138 episodes, 2.5 years of the newscast, Waters of the United States, the Supreme Court, ASR wells, MAR wells, the importance of groundwater. We've talked about it being fossilized, and coming out of research from Princeton University and the University of Arizona, NGWA Darcy lecturer Reed Maxwell, along with other partners, have created a simulation that maps underground water on a continental scale. The results of 3 years worth of work studying groundwater from coast to coast. The findings plot the unseen path that each raindrop or melted snowflake takes before reemerging in freshwater streams, following water from the land's surface to the depths far below and back up again, emerging up to 100 miles away after spending from 10 to 100,000 years underground. What I just read to you is the introduction published by Princeton University in the phys.org, and that's phys.org. Go find this article, read up on it, and then I'm going to tell you to go to nature.com and get the paper that the research team, as I had mentioned, Reed Maxwell, because, he was once on a Drilling Insight as we talked about groundwater mapping and data. This team, Reed Maxwell, we had him on Drilling Insight, episode 18 in 2020. He was our virtual, because 2020 was a goofy year. Darcy lecturer for the national conference. And as I mentioned, Reed, he had a heck of a team along with more researchers, and this was a 3-year program. So, along with Dr. Maxwell, the team included Integrated Groundwater Modeling Center for Princeton University, Chen Yang, who is now at the Sun Yat-sen University, China. I'm sorry if I just killed that. And this is the School of Atmospheric Science. Also, Laura E. Condon, Department of Hydrology and Atmospheric Sciences, University of Arizona, Tucson. These three published this paper along with all the researchers that helped them in this 3 years. Go to nature.com. The title is Unraveling Groundwater Streams Connections Over the Continental United States. I want you to start thinking about how we've seen Supreme Court justices get much smarter, as we've seen Texas versus New Mexico. And we had the Sacketts versus the EPA, where we talked about that nexus. And waters of the United States, oh, waters of the United States are not groundwater. And we have had groundwater professionals out there state that. And this is showing us the importance of this. And I want you to consider as we drill test wells or we do thermal networks or all the programs I've been involved in on the East Coast, drilling these great geothermal fields, these thermal networks, and we're producing water out of the ground. We're capturing it, we're treating it, and we're releasing it. But if we're looking at this from 10 years to 100,000 years, moving 100 miles, we need to be drilling with the least amount of impact possible to an aquifer, the least amount of production water brought out of the ground. That groundwater is important and it's secure and it's safe. And that leads us right into the President's Council on December 14th. There's a YouTube video of this along with a 51-page document. Remember that our National Groundwater Association submitted comments, AWWA submitted comments, Water Systems Council. We all have these, wait, we should be allowing the states to handle their groundwater aquifers. Again, go to nature.com, geek out like I did, because hundreds of miles, 10 years to 10,000 to 100,000 years from a raindrop to a snowflake back into the groundwater, it's connected. So, the President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology presented its report titled Improving Groundwater Security in the United States. This is the letter that starts the 51-page document. Dear Mr. President, your administration is committed to clean water and healthy communities. The 2021 Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act contain directives and support to improve water quality, quantity, and conservation and use. Together with your administration, America the Beautiful Initiative and America the Beautiful Challenge, they are focused mainly on surface water in lakes, wetlands, and ponds, and other freshwater resources. This is important industry for us to be paying attention. They state, groundwater is often overlooked resource across the nation. It resides in aquifers, which are underground and accessed mainly through wells. But this subsurface water plays a crucial role in the entire hydraulic cycle, including influencing surface water. Groundwater is vital for agriculture, domestic manufacturing, construction, mining, energy production, and other applications. Moreover, it provides drinking water for half of the United States population and nearly all rural residents. We've talked about 14 to 16 million private wells Less than 11% of our voting population has a private water well. We've talked about the US population and how much from surface water reservoirs to groundwater is being utilized. This study states, and this is where it becomes water security, 50% of our population is using it. This is a big deal. Back to their letter. Consequently, groundwater is fundamental to the nation's health, food, water, energy security, and economy. The U.S. is facing a serious and unprecedented groundwater challenge. In many aquifers, groundwater withdrawal has outpaced natural recharge, which is exacerbated by the changing climate and precipitation variability. Much of the water in the major aquifers in the U.S. is fossil water, recharged over 10,000 years ago, and will not be replaced naturally on human timescales. In the Western U.S., groundwater resources are being depleted at an alarming rate, mostly from agricultural withdrawals. The depletion has caused land subsidence and earth fissures, as well as permanent reduction of storage capacity. Again, this is why we talk about aquifer storage and recharge, or managing aquifer recharge. This is our future. We did a story last year about the Ogallala and two of the three water districts in Kansas were doing water conservation initiatives, and the third one was not. We are using a resource without knowing the impact. We still have 75 years of this century left. And I want you to think about from atmospheric rivers in the Western United States to the wildfires that are happening in LA, where 2 years ago we watched trillions of gallons of water dumped. And this year, massive fires. On to the letter. The depletion has national and global consequences as non-renewable groundwater in the West is embedded in agricultural products transported to the rest of the U.S. and in agricultural commodities exported globally. Many federal agencies have programs to measure the quality and quantity of groundwater, as well as conservation programs for sustainable use of groundwater. The letter goes on to state that we, as local areas, municipalities, cities, to states, to federal, all have to work together. We all, governmental and non-governmental organizations, professionals need to come together. We saw this with this PCAST. Let's throw out thinking right or left or red or blue. This is bipartisan groundwater security. And as we've seen, the state of Georgia pass legislation that if you have more than an acre, you can have a private water well. And we should empower everybody that's possible to have a groundwater professional come in and drill, have your own private water well. It's a right. But with that right comes the responsibility of conservation and protection. And that's where we're getting here. And go check out this data 51-page document. Go watch the YouTube. Sure, is it a piece where we go, oh, this is state, this is local, this is the water that's under my feet is my water. It's a silly thing to say, as we've seen from the Princeton and Arizona University 3-year study, how it's interconnected. And then we watch Supreme Court justices make decisions. We have to have the best data. We have to be advocating. And these are things that should be on the top of our mind. It's 2025. Groundwater conservation, regardless of who's in office, is a top priority for us. Remember, we're going to have the best clean air and the best clean water that the United States has ever seen. That was the promise coming into the next 4 years. Let's hold them to it. For this week's feature, this is a piece of Dave Bowers, Robert Meyer, me, Johnny O'Donnell, our new editor. Might have met him at the national conference in Vegas. We had so much fun that we got into a discussion that when we filmed it, Johnny would, with his wife, have their first child end of January. Well, just like drilling and Mother Nature likes to mess with us, pregnancies are no different. And Johnny's son came New Year's Day. And so, congratulations. I want to introduce this piece where we talk about fatherhood, parenting, managing drill crews. It's a good way for us to end this first episode of 2025. Feel good. You see Johnny on LinkedIn or Facebook, congratulate him. Welcome, Oliver. Hope you get to be a future driller or you become the professional you want to be one day. I hope you enjoy this. We have three dads on here, and you're going to be a future dad in the end of January. So, gentlemen, we need to give him one piece of advice that just the same as what do you wish you would have known when you first started on a drilling job? What would you wish you would have known as becoming a father?
I'll go first. It's the same thing.
Funny because that's
You can
exactly what
you can
my brother said, who's
you, you can never make it all make sense.
I like that.
The things that come out of my out of my guys' mouths sometimes, and the things that come out of my kids' mouths sometimes, I'm just like, what? What? It's the same thing. It's the same response. You can't ever make it all make sense.
I can give you one other thing here because I'm in a little different position than the rest of these gentlemen. You're in the new father position. These other two are in the kind of early to mid stage position. I'm on the other end where I have adults now. I will tell you this: every single moment you get now, cherish, because once they do move on and it does go fast, you won't get to stop parenting, but you will get to stop seeing them.
That's beautiful, Dave. And I will take it back to the drilling industry as well. Um, just like a infant and a toddler and a driller and an assistant, everything's a hammer. So be prepared. And the second thing is no different than if I'm tripping out of the hole or I'm on a job site and I'm looking at things. Every one of those hoses that can explode, or when I break that connection and I could get muddy, the same thing happens every time you have an opportunity to change a diaper.
Let me tell you, this is the probably the best advice I can give you about right now. At no time, if you especially if you have a boy, at no time should you allow more than about a half a second from dirty diaper to cleaner diaper, at least setting on in the way, because they are love target practice.
Yeah, it
Just
is a
saying.
boy, so that's very good.
I've never I've never taken a single piece of advice to heart, Ward. That is so true. Oh my goodness gracious. And especially with boys. With my daughter was never a problem, but with my son, oh my Lord. It's like, dude, I how is your foot already covered in poop? Like, how did that even happen?
Right. No, you have to move so faster than you ever have moved in anything else you've ever done in your life. You're
That's where
like,
the dad
okay,
reflexes
got
come in.
everything ready. This is off clean, this on. Boom. Like Formula One pit crew style, right? Is the best you wanted. Now you're not going to start being fast at it, but you're going to get fast at it because and you will eventually be pooped on, peed on, thrown up on, everything like that. Just deal with it because it's just going to happen. There's nothing you can do. And you won't trade it for the world. We can tell you all these things. You're about to feel something that you never knew you could feel.
Pee in
I
the
love that.
mouth. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, no.
All right. Thank you so much for your time today, gentlemen. Thank you, Johnny. Welcome. You'll be getting content from these two men and several other great contributors from around the country. And you and I will get on sometime soon to a call to action to see if we can't get some more great knowledge shares like we have with Dave and Rob here.
And
Awesome.
Johnny, just so you know, Chelsea knows and Brock knows my style for writing articles is pretty rough and tumble. And I wait and I wait and I wait and then I write for a couple of hours. I don't proofread it. I save it and I send it.
Perfect.
Fueled
Better than,
by Copenhagen and 9 cups of coffee. So
it's better than crayon.
Hurtful.
I'm not even going to make a comment why Rob doesn't have crayons available to write those. So
Hey, easy. But really quick, I want to go back. Dave made a comment about not being wanted to be referred to as old man status, and then made a comment about how that Brock and I just didn't understand fully yet because we're not old man status. Basically, that's how
No,
I
that's
took
not
it.
what I
So,
said. You're in the
well,
middle.
but I'm a translator. I'm a translator, and I've
Okay.
translated that. So.
All right.
I love it. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
All right. See you later. Thanks.
See you guys.
Thank you for joining us for episode 139, the first of 2025. The newscast started in 2022. This is a wild ride we've been on that we've been having so much fun while doing it. I thank the Driller team, and I'm happy to have you back and welcome Johnny, a new dad. We're still looking for great contributors. We have so much to share this year, from rig innovations to policy to safety to what's important most to us in drilling and construction. Go out, be safe, be smart, find the next generation, recruit them, empower them, be profitable. Welcome to 2025, everybody.